So let's have a starting look at this. Now, Andrew, we did talk a little bit about this, Tristan, when you and I spoke yesterday. What I wanted to have a quick look at is the fact that you already have a cybersecurity policy in place. And so hopefully all of you are driving your program of work around this policy. You'll notice here the high level, and I don't plan on reading through all of this, but just as a high level, provide a risk-based approach. So whatever you do in your ISMS, and we'll look at how this works later, you need to understand risk. And to understand risk, you've got to understand value and outcome, because risks are to value and risks are to outcomes. And so whatever you're doing to provide a cybersecurity framework in your organization, it has to be based on understanding what are you trying to protect and why. You'll notice in the end of this, information systems services. I actually like the word services on the end of here. This has been my approach since the dawn of time for me. Organizations provide services to their constituents, their customers, their clients, in health, their patients, in education, their students, in banking, their customers or their deposit holders. And if we understand the services, we understand what it is they require of us to do. So we'll explore this in a little bit of detail. There's some contextual stuff about what you need to do and how your model should work. There's a policy statement, the reiteration, I think, of what I just had. It's fairly straightforward there to manage cybersecurity risks to those things. There is the addition here of throughout their life cycle. So another call out, just keep in mind that the life cycle of your systems starts from ideation, from the moment somebody says, we need to build this. It's at that point you need to build security in, security by design, privacy by design. And so whatever you can do to get on the front foot with projects, with digitization programs of work, and help them understand how to build this in from the beginning and not look at security as add-on down the track. Anything you can do in that space is valuable going forward, and it'll save you heartache going forward because you won't have to retro security stuff. There are some benefits here for TAS. We'll have a look at benefits as we go along, but just as a high level, improve ability to deal with risk, improve overall risk management. The call out on this one, they look similar, but they're quite different. This is your ability to deal with line item risks. But if you can improve overall risk management, you can take more risk. You can use the resources you've got because you've got a better clarity on the risks you're willing to take and the risks you're not. That allows you to use your budget better. Awareness, increased confidence in digital services, the kind of customer view. Frameworks, certainly enterprise risk management framework is something we'll look at today. And this last one, this is really powerful. Enable information sharing with all levels of government and external organizations. I can't stress enough that, as I kind of said in the outset there, you're not alone in this. And the best industries in relation to cyber are those that collaborate and share what they are doing well and the things that trouble them. Just before this morning, I was looking at a thing called FS ISAC. FS for financial services, ISAC, information sharing, and I've forgotten, as I always do, the A and the C, something center. The FS ISAC is a global organization that gathers and has banking customer organizations engaged in it, that share cyber-related information about attacks, attack patterns, cyber crime, and even solutions and designs and architectures that help overcome those things. Now, FS ISAC, I was thinking in my knowledge it had been around for well over a decade. I was aware of it back in probably in my CommBank days, but I discovered it's been around since 1999. So whatever you can do to get involved in information sharing is really powerful when done well. And so that last bullet point, if there's anything, I guess, Andrew and Tristan at Deepak that you might help engage, I know that community of practice thing that I said I helped set up here in New South Wales. It's that kind of stuff that, if you take the time out and engage in that fully and openly, you'll find you're all going to learn from each other, as much as you can. There's some policy principles. Keep in mind, without me going through these, keep in mind today as we look at ISMS, and I guess ask yourself the question, where in my ISMS do I achieve the objective of this principle? Clearly, we will deal briefly with awareness. It will come up, but it doesn't come up in ISMS so much because ISMS is more a management system, but we will see it. Collaboration, I just spoke about. Enablement, enabling digital transformation, essentially getting in on the front foot, as I mentioned a moment ago. Integration into risk policy, etc. We'll see that as we go through. It's clearly based around privacy and security. Risk again, and then down here we get the reason why I guess we're talking about ISO 27001, using a standard. The reason we use standards is because they exist already. They are consistent, systematic, they're repeatable. You don't have to invent the wheel on this. You can choose other frameworks that are out there. I'll show you one or two as well. And ISO 27001 is in my mind probably one of the better ones, and that is because it steps above the control layer to the management and governance layer. And without good governance and management, your framework, your controls operation fades because of the priorities and the issues and all sorts of other things. So we're going to look at ISMS mostly today. That's our core. I didn't want to go through this other than to say that in this policy, your head of agency, your CEO, secretary, whatever terminology, has some responsibilities. Your job is to help that person achieve these responsibilities. And so understanding how they are accountable for things and how you're enabling them to achieve their accountability is also a key point. And down the bottom here, I see this one, reporting annually on your status. If you look at and maybe take a moment at the end of today or tomorrow to look around at, say, the Auditor General's report in New South Wales, just released a little while ago. Potentially there was one in Victoria. I just don't recall one within the last little while. But the ANAO, Australian National Audit Office, also did one not so long ago of federal agencies, and they're all reporting very similar things. And that is, and the reason I'm doing it on this slide, the disconnect between leadership, governance, groups, and what's happening on the ground. Either they're not being told that the organization is not progressing well, or has, I don't know if I could be kind of, put it this way, huge risks that are not being managed, controls that are not being implemented, policies that are not being complied with, or in almost all of them, key controls like the Essential 8 that are not operating at a maturity level that's expected. And this last one here is probably the one for you to start to think about. How can I report, not just annually, how can I report to my leadership? And I've got this slide coming up later. How can I report to them on the things that they want to know about, they need to know about, so that they can guide us, me, my program, and my agency on things that matter, that are going to move us down the path a little. And it has to be a two-way street. The best organizations that succeed here have an engaged leadership team that sees these outcomes as business enabling. If you don't have that, then it's essentially just controls management, and that's not particularly a good space. I have an aside here, and Tristan, you and I spoke about this yesterday. I have this concern, and I spoke about it at the Institute of Internal Auditors just a month ago. I presented on a topic there, which has been kind of scratching my mind for a while here. And my topic was, is cybersecurity really a board issue? And I believe fundamentally it is not. And that's because it's operational risk. But the reason it is today is because cybersecurity in all of its manifestations, in the control framework, in our architecture, in the internet and the way it's deployed, and in the crime space that's out there, it's a bit of a mess. And that's why it's a board issue right now. That's why we have cyber policies at the government level, is because collectively we don't have IT and information and ICT security the way we've got, for example, automotive engineering in the 21st century. If you think about where we've come with automotive engineering, cars, roads, road infrastructure, passenger, um, uh, pedestrian, cyclists, safety and security, it's phenomenal. Where we are with IT right now is just a bit of a mess. And so our job is for each of us to move along that path, find a way to report to, talk to our leadership, and make progress. We can't do that on our own, obviously. Now, in your Tas government cyber policy, you've got some framework of policy standards, some toolkits, some templates, and then your agency should have some of these things within your ISMS. We'll look at these as we go along today.